And we're back here. You, me, us. We're here. Mostly me. I've been gone for a week. Not actually. I've been here. I've been here in the house for a week. But the switch over to daylight savings. I don't know. You probably can't tell the window over here. It's already dark outside. The switch over to daylight saving has had a significant negative impact on my psyche, and I kind of fell away from all the things. But I think I've shaken myself out of it, and we're back. We're here. We're gonna make a thing. I have a concept in mind that I don't believe exists. So it's gonna be one of those playing around and making stuff work kind of days. I've had curry pizza, but I've never had pizza curry. So that's our concept. We're not going for the flavors of curry. We're going for the flavors of pizza with the form factor of curry, which is the reversal of your curry pizza, which is the form of pizza taste with curry flavors. Um, so I guess we're making tomato soup, chunky tomato soup, something like that. That's the concept that we're working with. I've got pizza ingredients, and we're just going to kind of start playing around. There's going to be two major elements to it. The actual curried soup bit, and what's pizza without the crust? So we're going to, I bought some pre-made crust again, because I don't feel like making my own from scratch. We're going to have to incorporate the pizza dough into our curry, and it's either going to be in the form of dumplings or in the form of naan, but made out of pizza dough. Either way, made out of pizza dough. And I'm not sure which way I want to go with it just yet. So it's an open question. Also, I got a haircut. Very summery cut for our end of year fall transition. Great. But step one, and my cutting board's over here, I just scrubbed it off. Step one, we've got ingredients to prep that I know I'm going to need, so there's no sense in putting it off. Especially things like the garlic. Garlic is a big element of both pizza and curry, so we shan't skimp. I'm going to get out, if I break that guy in half, that's just a skin, so 5? Is 5 enough? Let's go for 6. We're going to be very garlicky. I think making it garlicky will help give us the impression of more of a pizza flavor as opposed to a tomato soup flavor. That's something I think I'm going to be fighting with the whole way through, is not letting it fall into a tomato soup. Got the tube out to specifically do this, and then I started peeling it by hand because I was up in my own head. We've talked about the tube here before. This thing is a miracle, and I don't know where to get it. I would love to point you in the direction of getting one of these things, because for garlic lovers, ain't no better way to peel your garlic in a split second than the tube here. Sometimes the skins just come off on their own, but for when they don't, the tube. Which leaves your cloves nice and intact. That's the other thing. I could smash them with a flat of a knife, or with the heel of my wrist. But then they'd be partly crushed, and I don't always want them partly crushed. Sometimes I want them to be nice and intact pieces. For example, if you want to slice them or if you want to put them through the microplane, which is very hard to do if they've been partly smashed. We're going to trim that little goober off the side of that thing. I'm going to get a scrap bowl as well. I know I'm going to be producing a bunch of scraps. I don't want to make a million trips over to my compost bucket. We're still working on our purple garlic from the summer. I bought a bunch of it, so hopefully it lasts me. Okay, garlic. We might actually want even more garlic if I want to make garlic pizza naan pizza. I feel like I'm dancing around a bunch of things that I have heard of and that exist. Naan pizza is also already a thing that I've had, but it's not what I'm making. Anyways, let's just pulverize up our garlics. I've said it 1,000 times before, and I'll say it again one more time. Prep your garlic ahead of when you want to put it on the heat to give it the most chance to develop those lovely garlicky flavors. So I'm doing my garlic here. First off the block. We're going to lose the little handle. I also have garlic powder. I might use the garlic powder if I want to garlic up the naan bread instead of fresh. I'm probably going to put garlic powder in the curry itself as well. I've talked about that multiple times too. Garlic powder is not a substitute for fresh garlic, but also fresh garlic is not a substitute for garlic powder. They are quite different things. They have slightly different purposes in food. So I'm opted to go for our flavors of a fully decked up supreme pizza because I want to get vegetables in there. Because I don't think that an all meat curry sounds very good. Maybe it would be, maybe it wouldn't be, but we're not shying away from having meats in there as well. I feel like it's gonna be a thing. We're gonna have a lot of parts to this. There's a lot of elements going in, so there's gonna be a bit of a front load on the prep here. Little knobs out of there, and I'm gonna prop that and scrape it out because I think that's the last we're gonna use. I think that's the last we're gonna use the microplane. Unless I want to put some Parmesan toward the end. We'll rinse it off now to avoid it getting sticky. Give it a chance to maybe dry before we call into service for potential cheese down the line. Okay. Get out some ingredient bowls. The garlic can sit to the side. I want onion, tomato, green bell pepper, mushrooms, Italian sausage, pepperoni, which we have in log form, so I'll have to chunk it up, olives, and I picked up and put in here and lost track of olives. Oh, we're gonna need that. I thought that this would be the best way to get the olives in there, because these cured olives have a lot more olive flavor. It's very, very concentrated oliviness. And I think that'll do well to give us like distinct olive pieces in our curried up dish. So yeah, that's where we're headed today. Oh, I don't know. I've got a lot of things here. We might end up using all of them. We might end up using absolutely everything. There's got to be cheese. There's got to be cheese in the mixture, not just on the top. So I am going to end up using paneer so that there's pieces of cheese in there. But I also kind of want to get the roux of the curry to be cheesy. So I've got some pre-grated cheese over here as well. Wow, my camera is dying. So we're going to maybe melt some of that in. Okay. Get the piths out of our green pepper here. I've talked about this before too. I've talked about almost all these things. Piths they're slightly bitter. In a sweet pepper like this, they're not hot. They're just like slightly bitter, kind of an odd texture. They're usually not worth hanging on to. In hot peppers, they are where most of the capsaicin is located, so cutting them away can reduce the hotness of your pepper, or leaving them in can enhance the hotness of your finished dish. They're perfectly edible, they're just kind of not nice. And I kind of want just big old chunks. Of all the vegetables, because I like my curries chunky, and I think it'll also help with the appearance because there'll be visible colored pieces in an otherwise red. It's going to be pretty red at the end. Bell pepper. One big ol' onion. We're going to cut right through that, see how it is. That's nothing. Ooh, the onion cleaved. Interesting. Same thing with the onion. Sort of big old chunks. They're going to break down in cooking, and they're also going to be way less visible anyways. but I like the chunkiness for the eating experience. Onions. And we don't have to worry about them too much. They'll flake apart, they'll work. They're going to go in pretty early, get sauteed, and then also get simmered when we get the liquid in there. They'll be fine. I picked up a couple of tomatoes because I wanted... The main source of our tomatoiness is actually going to be some tomato paste, because I think it's going to be the easiest to turn into that sort of thick, saucy consistency that you think of when you think of curry. It's not the only kind of curry, of course. We could do a different kind of curry, but that's what I think of as sort of like the default curry, is that sort of thick sauciness. So that's going to be the most of our tomato in it for our sauce. But I wanted some chunks as well. And we're just going to take the little... It's called the core, but it's not even a core. It's just where the stem attaches. It's the part that you always end up getting served at Subway, even though somehow everyone gets a piece of it, even though there should be only one per tomato. So I'm deliberately kind of leaving these in big chunks, and they're going to go in a little bit late so that they hold together. And I deliberately also picked Roma because they are a bit firmer and less juicy. So in theory, they should still be noticeable chunks of them in the finished dish. Although tomatoes, even the firmest tomatoes, really kind of break down quickly when you put them in a simmer. So we will see. Don't know if it's going to work. Hopeful. Tomato. Already running out of room. We're already running out of room. I'm going to move the magic pot a bit and start staging things next to the stove over there. Up next, mushrooms. I like mushrooms on pizza, so I shall indulge. Although we don't need little slices, we need these sort of nice chunky quarters for this. I don't want this whole, probably don't want this whole container. There's gonna be a lot going on, and I don't want to overwhelm it with mushrooms. So I want to eyeball probably around the same amount that I have of onion. Ryuya, hello. Well, I'm doing a tomato curry, a tomato curry sauce. So it will be red, but it's not going to be red curry. We're doing the opposite of curry pizza, which is a pizza with curry flavors. We're making a curry, so with the form factor of a curry, with pizza flavors. So we're sort of flipping the concept. So it's going to be kind of like a tomato soup, but I want to not just make it tomato soup. I want to make it chunky and taste like the pizza things. That's the concept. I don't know if it's going to work. Welcome in. What am I using for the crust flavor? Crust. which I have two ideas of how to incorporate, and I have not decided which one I'm going for yet. Either using pizza dough make naan, or using pizza dough make little dumplings that get simmered in the broth and form little dumplings, like chicken and dumplings. Those are the two concepts, and I'm not sold on either one of them. We might even do both just to see what happens. So, yeah. Welcome in. I've been gone for a while. How have you been? 4-hour. I think before I cut that, I'm going to cut this. The switch on daylight savings really kind of threw my whole psyche for a loop, and I've been really out of it pretty much all last week. I think I've kicked myself back to rights, but I wasn't having too much fun with it. Just kind of waking up super late, not seeing a lot of sun because the sun would go down so early. I don't know. But we're back. That's a jalapeno pepper. I don't know. We're playing it by ear. I don't have a recipe or even really a guideline today. I have a concept in mind down the line. A panade. Allow me to Google. I don't think that fits my vision. It might be interesting to try it, but I don't think it fits my vision today. I don't want getting meat on that board. So this is pre-seasoned Italian sausage. Which I want to be in little chunklets as opposed to really ground up. So I'm gonna try to make mini meatballs, but with nothing else in them. We're gonna fry them just as is. We have an ad approaching, and I am going to preemptively just say, do it now, since all I'm doing is pinching off meat. I need to remember to do that more often. Throw an ad when I'm doing something that I know is going to take longer than it's going to take to get to the ad. I think I'm going to fry up all of this meat, and I'm not going to use all of it in the finished thing. But the oil from it is going to be the starting point for other things. So we'll do this. We'll do this part first. We'll fry it up in the pan once I've got these shaped. This is already hot Italian, so this should have a little bit of a spice to it. And I'm not going to shy away from putting spices into our sauce. Plus, the other meat that's going in here, we have two meats. The other meat that's going in here is pepperoni, because I think that will really help evoke the pizza flavor a lot. So I think I am just going to leave these as is and trust the pre-seasonedness of them. I do actually like pineapple on pizza. I know it is a hot debate. I actually do like pineapple on pizza. The issue I have with the typical pineapple pizza is that it's paired with ham, and I think ham is terrible on pizza. Um, but in this case, I don't have any pineapple. Pineapple would probably work in what I'm making. I think it would pull it away from being like recognizable pizza flavor. But I would not be adverse to putting pineapple into a curry. Um, I think that that's a perfectly acceptable thing. Um, yes, that would be a good pairing. Because the pork part is fine. Specifically ham, especially the way that they put it on pizza, it's so dried out. It gets so dried out. Um, from a culinary perspective, pineapple works perfectly well with pizza. In fact, it's probably better than a lot of the other toppings because it's got sweetness, but it's got a lot of that sharp acidity. And pizza tends to be a very greasy thing, and it just trusts that the tomato will balance it out. Um, and that doesn't always work, and you get some really greasy pizzas. Um, but pineapple fixes that. It gives you that sharpness, that sour bite, that acidity to balance out all the greasy meats and cheeses. Um, the Italians knew not to do that with pizza. Their pizzas have no meat and very little cheese and a lot of tomato. And they're much more balanced. They're a different dish than your American pizza. Yeah, I'm not making it Italian. By the way, we're not making an Italian pizza here. We're making. We're also not making American pizza. We're making an abomination. We're making crazy fusion food. Oh, already so dark. Gross. Okay, there's our meatballs. They're not all perfectly perfect, but they are perfectly close enough. We're going to start them. We're going to come over to the stove. We're going to stop and wash my hands before I touch anything with the raw pork. I was going to try to awkwardly get one out. Okay. Wash off your raw pork. Basic food stuff. Food stuff. We are getting to build our whole curry in this pan because it's large, deep, and it has a fitted lid. Now that I've washed my hands, I'm going to touch raw meat again. So as I said, I'm going to put all of these in here so they can render out the pork fat. We can use that as a starting point for fatting the pan with other things. I probably should. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to put a little bit of oil in the pan just to get them started so they don't go weird right off the bat. We don't need too much. It was awkward because it was offhanded because my primary hand is got meat on it. I don't want to touch the bottle. We don't need too much. We just need to lube the base of the pan enough that these guys don't immediately adhere. But yeah, so that's the plan here. And then I'm going to put the lid on. They're not going to be on really high heat. And I'm going to start them cold because I want to make sure they get cooked through. Since some of them are going to go in our thing today and end up getting simmered with the curry. But I think there's more here than I want to use. So I don't want to be surprised tomorrow or the next day or whatever by biting into one and finding a little raw nugget hidden away. There's quite a few of these guys. I think they're just gonna fit if I snuggle them around a little. I would rather they not all be touching each other because they are liable to stick to each other. But a little bit of snuggling up isn't super bad. Okay. That wash. That should be the only raw meat I have to touch today. So we'll wash, get everything tidied up. Oh, almost. The tray, although there's part of that is still just the exterior of the tray, so I can just slide that guy out real easy like. Okay, so we're gonna put the heat on to 5 on my dial. That's a scooch below medium, and pop the lid on right away to help them start to get started, get steamy. We're going to go for some browning on them, but I want them definitely to get kind of steamy in there first. And while they're getting started, I will bring back the other board and keep dicing up other ingredients, such as pepperoni. Pepperoni should go quite a long way with not too much of it. It's strongly flavored stuff. This particular kind of pepperoni has a skin that I don't know what is made of. I don't think it's plastic, but it doesn't seem edible. It's very, very tough. I'm not sure what it is. It's fibrous. It's probably like some version of parchment. So I want these to be chunked smaller. These won't shrink up. Maybe a tiny bit. They won't, but they won't shrink up much. They're much sturdier than the sausage. So while I want some nice chunky pieces, they can be small because I don't think they're going to disappear. And we will fry them off in the pan once the sausage chunks have gotten the whole thing started. Which means they actually need to go in a ingredient bowl. Let's make sure they're all broken up. Yeah. I'm short on the small ingredient bowls because we've used them liberally already. Pepperoni. Okay. They will also render out a little bit in the pan and should infuse some of that pepperoni flavor into our overall thing. Here's the real important part. We're going to use this whole block because you got to have cheese on your pizza. I've had cheeseless pizzas and they are lame. But how do you put cheese on a curry? Well, you either don't or you don't use mozzarella cheese. I think that knife is the wrong tool. Because I have a tool for this. It's a cheese cutter. This will be the first time I've used this since I rewired it, so hopefully it works. Yes. Yes, good. So what we have here is closer to proper curry than to pizza, because this is paneer, Indian cheese. It's unaged, so it's a young cheese like mozzarella. It has a similar sort of milky flavor, but I think I wired this wrong because I am bending the wire quite badly. I wired it backwards, didn't I? I wired it backwards, didn't I? I'm bending it. It's not under tension. Well, I'll have to rewire that when I clean it. But this stuff doesn't melt under normal circumstances. So you can get little chunks of cheese in a hot dish that stay as chunks. It'll actually brown up on the surface when you put it on high heat, which is a very interesting thing for cheese to do. Halloumi will also do this. That's a different flavor, but the same sort of similar process in making it. And I couldn't think of a better way to get cheese into my curry, into my chunky curry, than this. Although I still have some actual shredded mozzarella that we can either do as a topping or mix in and let it melt just to thicken things up. I was so happy when paneer started showing up at my grocery store, and I actually get some. Because before that, when I wanted to use this stuff, I had to make it myself, which is doable, but it's not the easiest thing. It's a real tasty cheese. It's very firm. Although the supply of paneer at my local grocery store has been inconsistent, so I think this is the last block I have of it. Yeah. So that's unfortunate. Olives, olives are the last thing. And I mentioned at the beginning, this kind of olives is what I've picked out. These guys are treat the cheese as the tofu. I was going to give it a little bit of a chance. I suppose, yeah, because I was going to fry it up a little bit on the heat before I added any liquid. My meatballs are sizzling back there. These are cured olives, olive oil cured olives for that extra double olived in goodness. I just think that, first of all, these taste way better than standard black olives, which are not great. Second of all, standard black olives don't taste like much. I know some people really hate them, but honestly, when they're mixed in with other stuff, they don't taste like much. And for something like this, where I've got a lot of other prominent flavors coming into play, I think they would just disappear, except that they would be these little black pieces. Oops. These should give us nice visible black pieces, but have actual flavor without being that like briny, salty Kalamata cured olive, or that kind of brined olive. Because although these are salted, they're not brined. They're salted and then packed in oil. Um, they are a little bit of a mess. We used these when we made those olive cookies a while back. Those were very good. Now that I've got another jar of these, I haven't bought these since then. But now that I've got another jar of these, I might go back and revisit that project because those were really tasty. But as soon as these are, they have pits in them as well because they're just olives, so they've got the pits. That's a naked pit. But as soon as these are pitted, I need to go check on the sausage balls. So, lick my fingers. Mmm. I love olives of all kinds. I think they are great, but I recognize how they can be kind of polarizing. Okay, everybody's getting sort of nice and cooked on the outside. They are trying to stick a little bit, so we're going to loosen them up. Ideally, I'd like them to be able to roll around in here so that I can do a tossy toss with, instead of flipping them. We can So I just want them to not adhere. Because then we can give them a roll and toss. Pop that lid back on, and I'm actually going to kick the heat up a little bit on them. Back over here. Get our olives aside. They don't need cooking hardly at all. They're probably going to get thrown in quite late so that they stay sort of separate. But yeah, this is the only brand I've ever seen of these. Oil-cured olives. They taste a lot like your standard sort of black olive. But like more so, like amped up. And they're oily and salty. Unlike, say, Greek-style cured olives, which are the Kalamata, which are very salt briny. Those are really tasty too. And that's sort of the thing that spawned the green olive, which are unripe olives that are brined. Because olives turn black when they're ripe. The green ones are just unripe olives. We need spices here as well. What is a curry without strong spices? What are we working with? We're going to have some fresh fennel. What is that black spot? We're going to have some fresh fennel, which I'm going to toast. Zizan, welcome in. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. Pizza curry, I say. Indeed. As you can see, I've got all of my standard curry ingredients: fennel, pepperoni, chunked up cheese, Italian meatballs, and tomatoes. I was just popping over here to assemble our spices. Because like I said, what is a curry without strong spices? We're using dried for these guys. And I actually went out and specifically bought dried basil because I knew I would want quite a bit of basil and did not want to put that big of a dent in my nice dried basil. Because I would use a good chunk of it because my basil harvest this year wasn't super good. So I don't have as much of it to go around. So I bought store-bought dried basil, which is just not as good a product, but here we are. Basil definitely will pull this in the direction of the Italian flavors. We're going to throw in both garlic and onion powders because they are delicious. And you won't even notice the extra garlic or onions, except that they're delicious. What other spices do you think of when it comes to pizza? Probably paprika, I want to say. I want to say paprika. But should I? There's paprika and pepperoni. That's what the pepper in pepperoni is. It's a sweet paprika. Oregano's here. Oregano, basil, fennel, garlic powder, onion powder. Sorry, I didn't call out the oregano. The oregano was the first one. I didn't call that out. We have regular paprika. Smoked paprika also kind of amps up. We could do a combo paprika. It'll help with the color too. Although this is going to be pretty red regardless. So some sweet paprika there and some smoked. And some black pepper, another ingredient in pepperoni specifically. Sage. I don't know if I think sage goes with pizza. Your typical like Italian, quote unquote Italian spice blend has marjoram and savory in it. Now I don't have any savory. I don't know what to do with it, so I've never bought it because nothing's ever called for it. But I have marjoram. Okay, these guys are starting to get a little brown around the gills. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. We could do some marjoram. Let me find my marjoram. Marjoram's one of those spices that I don't know what to do with. One thing called for it, so I have some. Cajun on your pizza. I like Cajun spice on a pizza, but I feel like it makes the pizza taste Cajun. All of our various leaves. I think I'm going to shy away from those things that I will have to experiment with marjoram more. It's such a mild smell is the thing. Yeah. I've never had anything that called for savor, so I don't have any. And then occasionally I think, oh, maybe. But then I don't have it, so I can't play with it. So I should say, what spices do you think of when you think of, like, American pizza? Like, American-style pizza? It's usually just basil and oregano. And then they hide the fennel in there. But there's always fennel mixed in with these various Italian sausages. I think that's it. I don't think it's that complicated, because tomato is a big element of the spice, sort of the flavor profile. And we've got tomato in spades already. I also do have some golden curry, and I think I might throw a block of this in with the liquid. Garlic, oregano, butter. Well, we've got garlic. We've got garlic coming up multiple ways, and oregano. So I think we're probably good. I think we're probably good on the spice front. These guys are looking great, and I will keep this method in mind for making meatballs in the future. We will probably have to... We're going to sacrifice one. We're going to cut it open. We're going to see if they're cooked to the middle, because that's the factor. But this method of getting them started with a lidded pan, just so they really steam in their own steams, and then open it up to let them fry off. I think that's a good sort of cross, since I didn't want to boil these in tomato sauce the way your Midwestern tradition dictates. And I didn't want to do them big, which is how you would do it if you were going to go with like a baked meatball. There's also nothing else in these, and I'm impressed they didn't fall apart or stick to each other. Let's find the biggest one. And they've developed a really nice fond as well. We're going to take the biggest one, or tied for the biggest one, because they're looking good on the outside. They're looking nice and brown. We're going to take the guy over here, and we're going to split him straight down the middle. And we're going to take a look on the middle, in the inside. How's he looking? Colored right to the middle. It's not pink, but it looks maybe just a touch under. I'm going to call out Randolph Market Meats. That hot Italian sausage is mild Italian sausage. I can't imagine how mild they would be if I'd bought the mild one. Oh, it's fine. We're throwing other flavors at this. Why am I using a spatula for that? I'm going to need this thing anyways. I think they are good to come out of there. Because that one I tested there was on the larger side, and I think it's fine. So we're going to remove everybody. We won't need any more fat. After all that's rendered out of these guys. We have some lovely fond forming at the bottom as well, which I am fond of. Okay. Set those guys aside. They will be good to go. What's the next element that goes in that we get started? They're going to go in a little bit quicker together. The next element is going to be fennel seed, which is only going to be in there by itself for a moment. Before it is joined by our pepperoni. Our jalapeno, so we can get the spice infusing a little bit. Our bell pepper. When you're using a whole seed spice like the fennel here, it's a good idea to give it a little quick toast. Now, I might have screwed it up by putting it in here and it might get too toasty, but I know that's a technique in making like normal curries. You'll take the cumin and the few other things. What am I using instead of coconut milk? I have not 100% decided. It could be cheese. Not every curry has coconut milk in it, though. So, as long as I can get it to the correct consistency, push comes to shove, I have some canned evaporated milk that we could bring in. Okay. Speaking of cheese, do I want to put the cheese in or do I put the onions in first? Cheese. Speaking of cheese, we're putting the cheese in now. And I turned the temperature up just a little bit. The liquid coming off of our vegetables is starting to loosen up our fond just a little bit. I'm going to have to get in there pretty vigorously down the line and scrape it loose. Okay. Now onions. Because they need a little bit of time. But we don't want to lose the texture completely. And I will mushroom at this time as well. The onions and the mushrooms can kind of ride on the top. And we're gonna lid it up. It'll help them steam a bit. I didn't put my garlic in there. The fresh garlic is going to want to be toasted, probably not too long. Not toasted, sauteed, fried. Let's run hot water so that it's a little bit less of a shock to the pan. So at the moment, the liquid is going to be water. Because I don't really want to fight the flavors any more than I already have. Our dry spices over here are not going in until there's some liquid in there because I don't want them to burn. And I want them to have something to infuse into that's not the oil at the bottom, which would put them at risk of burning. While we're waiting for the vegetables now to get started and rolling, let's open up our tomato paste. I also have tomato sauce, two kinds, that I can use in the event that I feel like we need more tomatoiness. But I'm going to try building this from without resorting to a pre-made sauce to enhance it. Tomato paste always needs some time to cook. So putting it in something like this is nice because it has that chance to simmer. Should put you in the bowl because I'm losing some of my tomato juice. You guys are looking at a lid instead of me. So canned tomato paste, I have noticed, always separates a little bit in the can, and you get a little bit of the tomato oil that kind of separates out. And when you break the seal, it dribbles out like that. Oh, I should not have used my fancy opener here because if you use a standard opener, you can push through. But these lids pieces are too wide because I used the fancy opener. So we're doing it this way with a spoon. Okay. 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 The sound of my pan has changed, so I'm going to open it up and take a peek and see what that means. Usually when you're frying something and the sound changes, you should look at it. Because often it means that you have run out of water and you're going from the sizzle of a simmer to the sizzle of a hard fry. My cheese is trying to stick, which I I'm aware that it does, and just forgot about. I've used it before, and it does like to. It does like to stick a little bit. It doesn't melt, but it does stick and then kind of break. I think the pepperoni is actually a tiny bit over cooked. We're going to clear space in the middle. We're going to clear space in the middle. We're going to throw in our fresh garlic. Fry it up, and then I'm going to start putting in my liquids. Push it around until it's fragrant with garlic. And then we can throw in our tomato paste. And our plain old ordinary water to give this some liquid. We can always cook it down if we want to have less liquid, and it'll help me rinse off my scraper a little bit. Okay, so start by stirring it up. Add our various dry spices before I forget. So that's our various paprikas. This is our basil, marjoram, and oregano. This is our garlic and onion powder, which we have regular garlic and regular onion in there as well, so we aren't going nuts with the garlic and onion powders. Get everybody stirred in, get everybody together. I don't know. I think the tomato paste might thicken it up enough without needing to resort to another thickener. I am going to put in a block of golden curry, which is a very mild curry. I even got the medium, and it's very mild. Japanese instant curry. I think it'll enhance it without dragging it. One block of it, I think, will enhance it without taking us into the realm of it tasting like just a curry. If you've never seen this stuff, I think I've used it here once before to make curry sauce for fish and chips. It comes in a tray in these little break-apart blocks, and it melts. They have a recipe on the box for simple curry, and it melts when you put it into liquid, and it forms a sort of a thick curry stuff, and it is a great shortcut for when you want to get something like curry flavored. I don't think it's a good substitute for just making curry, but if you want to have something like curry flavoring in something, I think it's a winner. Yeah, I think the tomato paste is actually, because there's so much of it, is going to give us enough without needing coconut milk. I could actually add a splash of regular milk just to alter the color of this whole thing. And then our other ingredients that we haven't addressed yet are the olives, the tomatoes, and the meatballs. There's some extra pepperoni, which I've been keeping in the freezer because it turns out it cuts from frozen pretty well. So keeping those big logs in the freezer has not stopped me from using it, which is great. Sometimes freezing something means I don't reach for it because it's too hard to use while it's frozen. But pepperoni was great. Sorry, I moistened myself without being asked. I'm sure that's a faux pas. So that guy needs to get to know it. I might even add a little bit more liquid just so that it has more to start with, because we're going to lose some as it sort of simmers. So we're going to add just a half cup more. Because if you've ever worked with large quantities of tomato paste before, it tends to thicken stuff up pretty well. Okay, that's going to want to simmer now. So I am going to transfer it, same temperature, same size burner, to the back burner. I'm going to turn the front one off for the moment so I can clean up that little puddle. Bookwoman, hello. Welcome, welcome. You're just in time. I need an opinion. I need an opinion from the lot of you, not just from Bookwoman, but from the lot of you. Because we have not yet included the crust element of our pizza. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, I was torn between the two options. We have our pre-made pizza dough, and we are either going to turn it into naan, or we're going to turn it into dumplings. And having looked at the pan that I've created, it might be too crowded for dumplings. It's pretty crowded. So that kind of puts a point in the column for naan. But what is your guys' opinion? You there in the viewers, we're going to open this either way because we're going to have to use this because what's a pizza without crust? So opinion. Bookwoman says naan. Ryuya says naan. I wasn't going to include rice at all. The pizza dough here was going to be the starch either way. Although you say that we could make like little pizza nuggets and sort of serve on top of them. That might be too cutesy. And it would take us away from the Indian part of this. How do you make naan? I think it's just oiled. Spear is also here, and Spear also says naan. Well, when I first conceived of this, my first and only idea at that point was to make little balls and throw them in here with the liquid to form a. Well, that's where that puddle comes from. To form like little dumplings, like you'd have with chicken and dumplings. But I think our pan has become too crowded. Which is something I was a little worried about. I think that's probably the deciding factor. It's just that the pan is too crowded for the little dumplings. We'll try that again. We'll try that again at some point. Oops. That was the wrong screen. So we're going to make naan. How do you make naan? Naan. Naan. I'm just using the dough. So we're just looking for technique. Homemade naan. I know it's real thin and it has like those puffy pockets to it. Rise, make garlic butter. We could do garlic butter or we could do garlic olive oil. Or we could do garlic butter olive oil. All those are possibilities. Have to get this guy out of his bag. I was lucky enough to be at the store when the fresh batch of these had just been put out, and I got one that was still frozen from shipping. Well, I got them. So here's what they look like. They come as a frozen ball, and then when they thaw out, they start to rise. This one I managed to get while it was still frozen. So it's just going in the freezer, and then it can be brought out later on. I'm a big fan of these pre-made pizza doughs, honestly. They're easy to work with. They're affordable. They're mighty tasty. I think that the flavors are kind of a meh. We need the flour. We need the... So I've just had this sitting in its bag, sort of out, rising, but not like really rising, because I knew I wasn't going to want to make a full pizza out of it. Whoa, you wrote a whole bunch of stuff. Roll the pizza dough as thin as it will go, shape into the form of an oval, 5 to 6 inches. Brush with ghee or melted butter. Heat up a cast iron skillet. We already... as high as it'll go. Place greased side down. Grease the other side. Flip for a couple of seconds. Wow, this will go quick. Thank you, Ryuya. You have put the instructions right there in the old chatteroo. Specifically for pizza dough, too. Interesting. There must be a recipe out there for the thing that I'm doing of pizza dough naan. There. And this is one of the most impressive things, is how well the dough does actually let go of the package. You don't have to really fight too much, and you don't leave hardly any behind. It's a little sticky, and it's got some pretty big bubbles in it, so we're going to give it a quick roll around in the flour here, just to push the bubbles out of it. And so that it's a little bit less sticky. But I don't want to knead it too much, because then we'll have a possible time rolling it out. So we're going to divide this up. This is... If I want it to go as thin as it'll go and be around that big, let's get my cast iron out. We're using the big cast iron today. We should probably get it heating now. Delorios. Well, shout out to Delorios for doing the thing that I'm doing, probably better than I've done it. They're going to be too small. Possibly. We'll roll one out and see. Now I know naan is usually that sort of triangular shape, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to oblong this guy out. Get some flour on him. I'm just going to kind of okay. Naan is always, like I said, it's always a sort of that slightly irregular, triangular shaped thing. Anyways, at least the ones I've had. So I figured just doing that should be all we really need. Roll it out so it's, you know, about the right size. Call it good. Oh, an ad snuck up on me. Well, before I do anything else, we're going to pop over. We're going to peek at our thing. Ooh, it's doing stuff. It's trying to stick to the bottom. We're going to turn the temperature down on it. So I'm just scraping the bottom until it feels nice and smooth. We definitely had a little bit of stickage. And I'd rather not that turn into burns on the bottom. Should have done that right when I put the liquid in. I knew there was a fond down there, and if you don't loosen it up, it can just not release. Let's put our olives in now. Get them stirred around. Ooh, they are just kind of disappearing, aren't they? I'm also going to throw the tomatoes in because they don't want to be raw. They need to be cooked. They just didn't want to be in there right away. Our consistency, our thickness is looking very, very nice. And throw in a bunch of our meatballs, and I will snack on one, and I think we're back from the ad now. No, we're not. We barely started it. What am I thinking? Okay, with those in there, our pot is definitely too full to attempt a dumpling thing, so. Lid back on. Those little meatballs are good. I need to do that more often just as like a easy cheater meatball. Because that was the easiest, cheateriest meatball thing I've ever made. So I know naan is made with butter or ghee. I don't have any ghee, so we would be using butter. But I don't... I kind of want to go with olive oil. I kind of want to just go with olive oil. I think it'll give us... I know it's not non-traditional, but I think it'll help with the pizza flavor. Do I want to add garlic? I think I do. I think we're going to add a little bit of garlic powder, which I will have to get ready in a container so I can sprinkle it. Okay. So we are... we've got the temperature turned down on the curry stuff. We've got a plate handy to catch naans. We've got a hot pan. The whole dish is non-traditional. Nothing about this is traditional. There's no tradition here at all. We are striking out into the great unknown. I got a brush. And we're gonna do the first one and experiment with it. And if this is a fail, then I will know. Okay, so it's oiled up. We're going to swap over here. We're going to... There's nothing in the pan for me to test with, so I have to throw a drop of water at it, which evaporates immediately, so our pan is ripping hot. And then we take our dough and we go... slap. And then we... oil up the other side. Oop. We got a moisten from Saizen. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. We're bubbling up a little bit. I'm going to give us a sprinkle of garlic on this side. And a hopefully just flip it over and see what it does. Because with it rolled out this thin, it shouldn't take hardly any time at all to cook. We're going to have to taste test this one. And then according to Ryu's helpful recipe there, it should only need a few seconds on the other side. We ballooned it like crazy, which is exciting. So take it off. It looks like naan. I think the garlic burned, so maybe that's not a good idea. The oil is smoking as well. That might be why we're supposed to use butter or ghee, because the olive oil is going to smoke on us. So, oh, actually, you'll never guess what was hidden in the back of my cupboard. Ghee. So we could use the real thing for this. That pan is going to go off for the moment because I want this to cool off enough that I can test it, because I want to see how it came out. I don't just want to gamble that it's perfectly good. So we're going to bring it back over here with the lined up ones waiting to go. And I'm going to give it a tester right now, see how we did. So it was obviously visibly oily, so I may have over-oiled it. I'm tempted to oil the pan instead of the bread, but we'll see. I like the texture on this side. It bubbled up a ton on the other side, and then we got that sort of spotting pattern, which I think you're supposed to have. It's soft and it tears apart. It is blazing hot. Pretty good. It's got a crisp on the outside, but it's got like a soft, pillowy chew in the middle. I cannot taste the olive oil or the garlic, so I think that's irrelevant. I think it's a winner. I think that guy right there is a winner. We can use this method. That took no time at all. And it took no time at all. Okay, well, we're take another peek at our thing in here. Looking good. We'll let that keep bubbling away. Damn! Tasty. Tastes a lot like pizza dough. It actually does have that pizza dough flavor to it. So I think this is exactly what we were looking for. My ghee is not melted, so what I'm going to do is take a scoop of it, pop it in the pan, let it melt, and then we can refresh it if we need to. I'm going to go for oiling the pan instead of oiling the bread directly. Might be a mistake, so we're going to do one and see how it works out. You're so jealous. Don't be so jealous. You could do this too. Pre-made pizza dough. A hot skillet does not have to be a cast iron skillet. I have a cast iron skillet, so I'm using that. But you could do this with a plain old steel skillet. Like that. Let that guy there get nice and screaming hot, and then just slap it in there. That was the easiest thing in the world. So what I'm saying is, don't be jealous. Step up. Make it your own. Take charge. Create the thing. I don't know. I lost track of what I was saying midway through. I almost wonder if it wouldn't be worth it to oil the dough balls and then roll them out. Do like an oiled roll instead of a floured roll. I've had problems with that with oiling the dough before, but in that case I was trying to like form it back into itself. I think this would be the situation for it because it would never need to stick to itself. This reminds me of making pita bread, except it's easier. And it doesn't give you that. It reminds me of making pita bread, and it doesn't give you a nice pocket. It gives you more of an inconsistent thing. So, experiment 2. Buttered pan. That's probably bubbly enough that I have to flip it. I think this would be a fun 2-person project because then you could have someone rolling them out and someone frying them instead of having to sort of do gaps. Because it doesn't take long enough to fry for me to stop and roll the next one out. You're of course supposed to make this stuff in a tandoor, which I do not have. If you're thinking of a fun Christmas present for old Jovial here, I would love a full-size tandoor. And the way you make it in a tandoor is because it's this big conical oven. You take the dough and you slap it on the side of the oven on the inside, and it sticks. And it cooks. And then when they're done, they scrape it off. And that's like the original way of making these. So I would love a full-size tandoor. We could make all sorts of things. Okay, I've decided I'm going to oil this one differently, continuing sort of the experimental nature here. As long as I'm doing this and doing experiments with it, I may as well like actually change up my methods and see if I can't find the best way. That pan is too hot. It is smoking something fierce. But I think actually oiling these and then rolling them out was easier. We'll see how it turns out on this tester right here, but I think that might be the method. It's getting kind of smoky in here too. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on my smoke alarms. I'd rather not set off a screaming thing in here. Okay. Give it a... Oh, yeah, and then it just kind of releases, which is great. Give it a flip, kind of prevent it from standing up too much. Okay. This is great. This is working out great. I think my pan is just a scooch too hot. I know the recipe says as hot as you can, and that's because a proper tandoor is like... An actual tandoor oven is like 900 plus degrees. It's like pizza oven. So actually, it's not a terrible idea to use pizza dough in this way because they're super, super hot, just like a pizza oven's supposed to be. Pizza ovens are like real pizza ovens. Italian style pizza ovens are incredibly hot. And they cook very fast, which I just talked through the reason why that's very, very similar to how you make naan in the traditional way, which makes me feel even better about the thing I'm doing. Oh my God. Okay. Pre-oiling them is definitely the way to go. They're way easier to roll out, and then I don't have to fuss with them at all. I can just slap them in here. We're gonna tip this up. I don't know if you guys can see the smoke. I can see the smoke. There's smoke in here. How's this guy looking? He probably needs to have his lid come off a little bit so he can lose some liquid. This guy's getting nice and bubbly, so we will give him a flipperoo. Okay. Okay. I'm happy. I'm happy where we're at. I think we have found a good way to do this. Yeah, yeah. Kicked myself out of my mental doldrums and came back to a winner in terms of a cooking project. So we're gonna oil those guys up. We're gonna get this guy out before he burns. This also lets me roll my pizza dough out, I think, a little bit thinner because the oil on the surface helps it cling just ever so slightly to the worktop. So it doesn't immediately retract quite as badly. And I can do it real quick then, so then there's very little downtime between them. Okay, yeah. It is making a little bit of a mess because now I have a worktop that is both oily and floury, and also my hands are both oily and floury. The heat's gonna have to come up on that a scooch. Just a skosh. Okay, okay. What are you guys having for dinner? You know what I'm having. It's this nonsense, which is coming together. Thank you. I am very pleased with the naan and how it has evolved since that first one. Speggy and Meebles. Well, that's not dissimilar to what I've got here. Kale chips. I don't like kale chips. Hot take. Not a big fan. Chinese takeout. That is a good one. Yeah, no. If you like something that other people don't like, more for you. I like kale. I just don't. I just think that the chip, the kale chip, is not the ideal form of the kale. Snacked on some celery and spinach dip. That does sound pretty good too. I was nibbling on candy corn before I started. It's candy corn season because the candy corn is on sale post Halloween. So you can get the best Halloween candy at a significant discount. You don't like candy corn? It's a very divisive topic. That's why I called it the best Halloween candy. I like it. I like it in small doses. You can't, it's not a like shovel in type of candy. You just eat a couple of them. I think that the jelly pumpkins are my actual favorite. I'm not to say candy corn is my actual favorite Halloween candy. I think the jelly pumpkins are my favorite Halloween candy, and I get those at discount afterwards as well because they're another one that's not very popular. I don't know. I see so much hate for candy corn, and then I have to ask you, well, where's all that hate for circus peanuts, which are objectively worse? Ooh, this one's gonna turn into a pita pocket. Okay, everybody point and laugh at Cizan. They're wrong. It's okay to be wrong. My non-balloon is too balloony. Okay. Poke the balloons out. Now, I like circus peanuts. When I eat the first one, I'm like, yeah, these are pretty good. Then when I eat the second one, I'm like, boy, I think I'm done with these. I can have one, and then I'm done with them for the year. I mean, obviously somebody still likes them because they still make them. They stopped making the ones that nobody eats. See, I like fake banana flavor as well, but I get that sort of. There's probably palm oil in them, honestly. Any of those sort of semi-soft things that you can't quite put your finger on why they're semi-soft, they probably have palm oil in them as a stabilizer, and that gets to the back of my throat. Although I have no idea. Wow, it's very smoky in here. I'm glad I closed the door to the room with the smoke detector. We are going to do the last naan, and then we're going to get this off the heat post haste. Because dang, it's a smoke show in here. Oh shoot, I tore my dough. Trying to roll it really fast. Whoa, look at that balloon. Look at that balloon. Oh, look at that burnt surface. Got distracted. I got distracted. My fault. Sizan's fault. 100% Sizan's fault. You did this. I blame you. Look at what your love of circus peanuts has wrought. Squeeze the air out of that guy. Honestly, this still doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's the same thing with the candy corn. I like candy corn, but I eat like, I don't know, 5 or 6 little small little nibbles of them. Those jelly pumpkins, I have to control myself around those things. I will eat those like crazy. I will eat those until my mouth hurts from the acid. Because they're not pumpkin flavored, they're orange flavored. I'll eat those until my mouth hurts, if I'm allowed to. Okay, this is the last one. I've lost control of my temperature around here a little bit. But we need to stop soon because smoke. Wash my hands. Okay, okay. I think we are coming in on the home stretch. We're gonna check on the thing that I have called curry, but is more like a chunky tomato soup. There we go. And then squeeze out the big one. Now, by the time they do that, Rayuya, the Cavendish will have also gone extinct, and we'll have a new flavor to contend with. I don't know if you can even see me through the ad. We have an ad. Good enough. Heat off. Naan off. Get this guy completely off the heat so that he stops smoking. We're actually going to heat back on and swap this guy to the front. It has made a orange splatter over everything in the vicinity. We need the smoking to stop. Oh, we are sticking at the bottom. Okay. In the meantime of doing all the rest of that, we've had some significant stickage at the bottom, and it looks like some burning. That's unfortunate. That is Unfortunate. It looked so good at the top, but I guess I just needed to stir it around more often. I don't really want to dislodge that if I can help it. The part's looking pretty good. Let me give it a tasty taste and bring the heat down a little bit. Ooh, ooh. I won't comment on it, but ooh. I am going to do a thing that I suggested earlier. And throw some cheese in here while it's hot and bubbly. And let it kind of melt into it. It should give us a little bit of a creamy texture. You asked earlier about what's the stand-in for the coconut milk, and I think it's just going to be a handful of mozzarella cheese. And I am actually seeing the bottom start to loosen up. It would be neat if I could get that all to release. Parts of it have released. I've changed my mind about getting it to loosen up. I think a little bit of the char might help. Because pizza's supposed to have that sort of burnt bottom, like good pizza. Although we have that on the naan. The naan has the leopard spotting for us. Yeah, some parts of this just do not want to let go, which is the sign of being rather burnt. Okay, I think our flavor is good on the curried part. I think our naan looked great. Since the naan is now piping hot and fresh, I would really like to get to it. So, we're going to craft a... Detroit style is very good. I have not made it myself, but I have had it, and it is very, very good. I think it is an underappreciated style of pizza. And I know why it's underappreciated. It's because most people's experience and exposure to Detroit style is Little Caesars Pizza, which is a Detroit style pizza. And Little Caesars does not do a good job with it. They do a cheap job with it. Yeah, they also just use standard cheeses. They don't use all the things. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a cleanup. The heat off of that. Yeah, so let's get out a scooper. A different scooper. Yet a third scooper. Okay. Let's get out a scooper. Let's serve up a bowl. I'm not going to use the wooden scraper there. Of this stuff. So it's it's a stew, which is what curry is. So we've got like a tomato stew. It did all kind of turn into one color. We're gonna need a towel to properly clean that up. We did all kind of turn into one color. Even though this naan is pretty charred on that side, this side looks so good that I'm going to use it in my official piece here. So good job, Saizan. You burned one perfectly. And we're going to sort of artful up the back and tear that one in half. There. We tore a couple of them up so I didn't have to put all of them on the plate together. We're going to add a little bit more of the stuff to nicen up the plate just a scooch more. And while it is still piping hot, I'm going to add a little bit more cheese just so it can melt onto the top. And you know what? Right at the beginning we said I'm going to clean the grater, so in case I need to use it at the end, it'll be available. Well, we're going to give us just a little topper of a little more cheese. There's some melted garlic butter on the naan. I don't have any melted garlic butter. And honestly, I tasted the naan, and I don't think it needs it. There's my official plate. It needs something green. It needs something green. We lost our green green bell peppers in the sea of red. But you know what we didn't lose? A little splash of green jalapeno pepper to make the visual pop a bit. It was not just red and brown. Perfect. And our cheese is starting to get melty. Great. Okay. I am going to haul us over to the camera station, grab our photos, and then I will come back for the formal, official tasting. Wow, there's a lot of smoke in this room. Whoa, there's a lot of smoke in this room. Come on. Do I want to take another photo? Are you full of photos? What are you doing? Did you freeze up? It's refusing to take another photo, and it is lagging like crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and hope that it took enough photos. Whoa, it is just taking a photo of nothing. I feel like it's having an aneurysm. Let's leave it alone for a second and trust that it has photoed itself up properly. Fingers crossed. And let's give this a taste. I would say, what part do you want me to taste first? But I've already tasted the naan by itself, so we need to dive in with the stuff. Try to get a little bit of everything in the first bite here. I use my tablet for my photos because it has a better camera. Mm. That's really good, guys. That's really good. Wow, that's a big mouthful. There's so much going on. No, it's not too hot. It is the appropriate temperature for eating. Things are nice and melty, but not scalding. It was just a really big, chewy mouthful. There's so much going on. I kept hitting new things as I bit through. Okay. First things first. Tomato sauce. Tomato sauce is a rich tomatoey flavor, and it's got a lot of strong Italian spice to it. I'm not specifically tasting the individual spices, but it's got that character of simmered together Italian spices, but they're like intense. Intense like they would be in a curry where you put all that stuff in. The individual component chopped up chunks in there have held up. The green pepper, although not super visible because it's lost some of its color, when you bite into it, you get a burst of green pepper. The chunks of paneer held up as chunks of paneer. When you bite into them, you get that cheese sort of bouncy texture, and then they taste like paneer. The flavors of the sauce are all blended together the way a curry is, and then the flavors of the individual chunky bits hit you as you bite through them the way, not to toot my own horn, but the way that you go on a pizza where you bite through and you notice all those things. It really tastes like, I don't want to say it tastes like a pizza. It's not quite cheesy enough to really taste like a pizza. Maybe when I get further into the cheese blob in the middle, that'll help. but it tastes like pizza flavored stuff. How are the meatballs? I don't think I got a meatball in that bite. Let me that's a meatball for sure. So let's have a meatball and some sauce. There's one of the tomato pieces. They're not super intact, but they're still not complete mush. Okay. The meatballs are a little more delicate than they were when I put them in there. I think the simmering kind of lost their cohesion, but they still have that flavor. You get that sort of greasy, spiced meat sort of bursts out of the middle. It's not super strong. I probably there's like I said, there's so much going on. It tastes super Italian. Or like American Italian. It really tastes that in that sort of American Italian flavor realm. But I want to say I managed it. It eats like a curry with this thick, saucy, chunky stuff. That was good. I don't think spicier Italian sausage would be better because the sauce itself, I think, has a good amount of spice probably from the jalapeno. There's a whole jalapeno in there that I threw in as one of the first vegetables to go in, so it would really have a chance to fully infuse. And I think that got the overall spice level to where I like it. But it's definitely something you could adjust. I know some people who would not like this because it is too spicy. I think it is a nice sort of gentle tingle, twinge, a light piquancy. The naan is really, it's not quite like real Indian naan. It's bouncier, I think, a little bouncier and chewier. It holds up to the stuff really well. It's got good structural integrity for something like this, but you do need the spoon to kind of get it on there because I think it's pretty floppy. So doing a scoop is hard with it. It might also be because it is so fresh. I think if I let it cool off a little bit, it would stiffen up and you could use it more like a tool. Which, that last bite had a bite of olive, which again, bit into the olive, bam, olive. I love it. All the little bits and pieces as you bite through them give you these bursts of all the various flavors. That's exactly what I was hoping for and why I wanted them to be the sort of big chunks. Yeah, other than keeping an eye on it and not scorching the bottom quite so much, I don't know that I would make any changes to this recipe. Not that it's really a recipe. It's a throw stuff in a pan. Again, that's the beauty of curry. Both curry and pizza are like this, where the form is so accepting of pretty much whatever you want to do to it that you can do something really crazy. And the form will carry it. It's one of the most extreme versions of that. The form of curry has carried these flavors really, really well. I'm probably going to need an antacid after I eat this plate of food. But it's really good. I think you could do this same thing. So pizza lends itself because it already has the sauce to use as the base. But I wonder if you couldn't use this form factor to make other weirder things. Calling this a curry, I don't know what else you'd call it. You'd probably call it a stew. But that's what a curry is, right? Is it a curry when there's no... Yeah, there is. That's the thing. I'm trying to rationalize myself out of calling this a curry, and every time I come back to it, I think, no, this is a curry. It's got all of the like necessary elements. I was gonna say, well, it might not have the spices that you're used to, but it has all of the like components are there. I guess I'm just rambling. I guess I'm just waxing poetic about my own cooking now. I'm excited to be back. For one thing, guys, I'm excited to be back. The big gap did not feel good to me, and I'm happy to be back in the saddle here. And this is real tasty, and I want to eat it while it's still nice and warm. So I guess I'll take this opportunity to wrap us up. Also just hit 7 o'clock, so probably should do that. Yeah, let's drop you guys off somewhere. Let's open up a second Twitch panel. See who's all on right now. We can go see Slay, who looks like he's just starting. In fact, I believe Slay is literally just starting. Mute tab. Oh, I'm getting an ad now. Oh, I shouldn't get an ad. I'm a currently live streamer. There's supposed to be a safeguard so that you can check out other people's channels while you're live so that you don't have to wait through ads for this exact reason. Anyways, Slay is literally on his intro screen right now. So, I guess... and there's nobody there. So I guess I'll go bother Slay. So yeah, I had a good time with this. Yeah, tidy stuff up here. I had a good time with this. That was tasty. It wasn't too hard. I think I learned quite a bit, but also I think we might have just struck gold with this one without having to run it through any more iterations. I think we're on. And the meatballs, doing the meatballs that way was such an easy little shortcut hack. Making naan out of pizza dough is such a neat hack. We've got like parts of this are going to make other things easier going forward, which is really fun. And I got a delicious meal out of it. Amazing. Preview of things to come. I got a big old piece of meat. We'll probably use that on Thursday. So yeah. I guess I'll see you on Thursday. Hold me to it. I should be here. I shouldn't slack off. I should actually do it. And then I will try to come up with a schedule for next week because Thanksgiving's going to throw everything off. Bye.